I'm Bree.
And this is Katie. Welcome to Mother's Tea. We've got Katie with us, and we're going to talk about postpartum depression and anxiety and kind of how that looked like for Katie and her journey with that.
Yay.
How many kids do you have, Katie? Two. How old are they?
I have a son who is about to be 15 and a daughter who is 8.
Okay.
15.
So who do you feel like you experienced postpartum depression with, anxiety the most, unless you didn't even realize you were going through it until maybe the second one?
Definitely my daughter, so the 8-year-old. My son actually I was 19 and he was a surprise. And I don't know if it's because I was young or what it was about it, but I was just like, everything's great. And there was literally, I had no worries whatsoever. So no anxiety or depression postpartum with him, but man, did it hit me hard with my daughter. So.
And how old were you? You were 19 with him, but how old were you with her?
26. I think I was 26, and I had done 3 years of fertility treatments at that point. So I was being treated for infertility, and I'd had a miscarriage during my fertility treatments, and it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to have the feelings that I was feeling whenever I had her. I prayed so hard for her and spent so much money to have her, and then had her, and I remember being like, she's everything I prayed for, and then it's like, she's everything I prayed for. Oh my gosh, she's so precious. I can't move. I can't breathe. Something's gonna happen to her. I can't. I was freaking out.
So you felt like your reward was going to be taken away.
Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
You forced it to happen maybe in your mind. It isn't. Like God gave us that resource, but in your mind, so you were thinking, I'm about to be punished.
Yeah, it was just everything that I had waited for so long right there. And I think I didn't ever think about, and I didn't have postpartum depression. It was just anxiety. I think the anxiety made me depressed.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say it was really PPD. But it was like you're so elated and full of joy that what you've been working for. I say working.
You were. I mean, 3 years
whatever.
is
it's a long time of this emptiness and this sadness and period after period. I know that's a lot of information, but
Still, you're like, when's it going to be my turn?
Yes, exactly. And then it finally happens, and you don't even think that you're just so happy. You don't think anything could ever ruin that, you know? And then you also it almost feels like you think that you should be immune to it because, hello, you prayed for this, you paid for this, you should be nothing but happy. And that's just not true. Nobody's immune to it. I mean, it can happen to anybody. It's so important.
So who do you think, how did you recognize that this is anxiety that I need to get off my chest, if you ever did? Say hey, I need to talk about this. Did you see it within yourself, or did family or friends see it within you?
No, I definitely recognized it. I mean, I have a history of being anxious. And I recognized that something was up. We had put an offer in on a house. We were renting a house at the time. And we put an offer in on a house, beautiful, gorgeous, remodeled in my favorite neighborhood in town. I was so excited. But then I had her, and the title company is calling me hey, just trying to confirm your appointment. We haven't heard from you. And I'm like, I'm not going.
Just shut down.
Freaking out. I was so freaked out, and I talked to my mom about it. Luckily, I went and signed all the paperwork, and we moved into our house.
We're homeless.
But I told my mom, Mom, I can't even drive. I don't want to be alone, and I cannot drive. So my mom came and got me, took me to her house. I stayed there for a little bit. So I definitely was able to recognize it and recognize that I'm laying here all night long staring at this baby, terrified that she's just going to stop breathing, So it was easy. I think it was pretty easy to pinpoint, but there is this guilt that's you shouldn't be anxious and you shouldn't be depressed because you literally have everything you were wanting. So it's kind of hard to admit. I could admit it to my mom, but it would definitely be hard to admit to other people.
So sometimes, in my opinion, it's you have that guilt that we hold as guilt. Like, I shouldn't feel this way, but you do feel that way. And it's almost like the devil is saying you do feel this way, and God is saying it's not guilt, it's me reassuring you that you shouldn't because I have you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's so good that you had your mom, and it's good that you were self-aware, because so many are not self-aware. They don't know. They think I'm a new mom and I'm going through things. Whether you've had 1 or 4, it doesn't matter. You're a new mom to that baby in that situation, and now you're a new version of a mom to all your other children. And so you are always a new mom, in my opinion. And so it's like, no, they're crazy. Like, I haven't slept good. My whole body's going through changes. It's not me, it's them. So I think that's really good and encouraging. It's just let your guard down and say, like, I'm so anxious.
Yeah. I mean, knowing that I couldn't drive, knowing that I physically was like, it is not safe for me to drive. I knew, like, that, you know, something's not right. Yeah.
And that's hard. I mean, it's hard to, because I had to get help, obviously, and I had Augie, and I was like, no, I'm fine. And Heather's like, you're not fine. Like, you need to go, like, just try it. But it is hard to admit to people, because you're like, you know, like, I waited late in life to have a kid, and so I was like, this is everything I wanted. Like, why would I have these feelings, or why would I feel like it's not enough, or I'm not good enough, or whatever else? And that's just a crazy thing to go through.
I mean, hormones, man.
You just cannot help
it. You can't help it.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
nobody's immune to it.
Yeah.
It's just insane. It's crazy.
And there's a lot of people that don't admit it, or don't talk about it, or don't even address it. Like, I saw a girl that I follow on TikTok, and she was like, essentially her TikTok was like, I'm sorry to all my friends that I was never there for when they were a new mom, because now she's a new mom. And it's like, you don't realize how important it is to just show up, to just go over there, to just check on them, because so many people are struggling, and you don't even have it in you to reach out. You don't have it in you to even say, I'm struggling, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, because you're just there in that moment.
Yeah, and there is a
and
good
exhausted.
And there is a good difference between postpartum depression and anxiety. Like, with Annie, I think I was just really young. I was 20, but also it was like, I don't know if I love her. She's my kid, I guess. Like, I didn't know. And then it's like, when I had Max, I was like, oh my gosh, I love Annie so much. This is what it's like. Like, I'd matured a little bit, but with Max, it was such bad postpartum depression. Just cried and cried. My mom it was the first day of school that he was born, so she was there for that, but then had to go back to work. Jordan had to go back to work so early, and so then with Oliver, it was like, let's get ahead of that, because it was so bad with Max. But it was so weird, because it's not that people didn't believe me, but it was just so unlike me to be that way. And then you feel guilty about it. And like, well, I don't want to tell anybody that I'm crying all the time and I don't have anybody. And then it was, Oliver took medicine early, and Mom was like, well, she took off a whole week to make sure she was there because she couldn't be. And then, you know, Gus was anxiety. How am I going to get across the parking lot with 4 kids? What do I do if Oliver wakes up and I'm breastfeeding Gus? And it was just that. Like, it definitely presents completely different. And so that is good that, you know, you said it was more anxiety than depression.
And I think it's a maturity thing too, because like now, at my age now, 35, if I were to have another kid, I would, you know, be able to recognize more. But if I had a kid at 18, I mean, I've had so much knowledge, even in the medical field, from 18 to now, I wouldn't know at all what to do being that young. Or even, like, you're still trying to figure your feelings out on top of struggling with this. It's like, it would be really hard to do it at a very young age, or to recognize it.
Yeah.
How do you feel like the anxiety impacted the other people at the house, like your son?
You know, everything's such a blur. I think he was fine. He was in preschool, so he was out during the day, and Jason was actually working from home at that time. Not working from home, sorry, working in town-ish at that time, so he was home every day. So that helped. I mean, because he could come home and take a little bit of stress off. Now, if he had had his typical job where he was working away from home, I probably would have lived with my mom for a while because it was just, and I think I was with my mom quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I just remember thinking, like, what made me think this was a good idea? I can't believe I thought this was a good idea.
I pushed for this for 3 years.
Well, exactly, and it's like in an instant, you're just like, why in the world did I do this? And and now I can look back and be like, man, hormones are
What's that
crazy.
movie?
Shit.
Yeah.
Knocked Up.
Not,
yeah.
Not you, Allison. Hormones.
yeah.
Oh,
literally.
I just lost some corn.
See?
No, you're
Trying to
still
get
corny.
eaten.
You got it.
Did it impact because you were married, was it hard on y'all's relationship to go through all of that as well?
I don't think so. It was so brief. I think it was like 4 weeks. And I mean, when you're in that, it feels like so long that you're just in this perpetual cycle of anxiety. But when you look back 8 years later, it's just a drop of water in the bucket, you know? So I don't really remember it impacting. I just remember not feeling like understood. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you know,
Couldn't explain
men aren't
it.
always.
They're not.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, he's like, this is what you
wanted it.
This is what
you asked for this, so
wanted.
you're
And that
good.
was probably like equivalent to like somebody being like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's what I wanted, but
Mhm.
here I am. Like, I
Yeah.
wanted that double cheeseburger too, and now I feel really full. So
Mhm.
here we go. Like,
Exactly.
it's the same thing. So what did you do about it? Like you said, it was 4 weeks. Did you ever talk to your doctor about it? Did you just use your mom for the most part?
So yeah, just really relied on my mom and friends, and tried not to be alone. Not being alone really helped. Honestly, that's what helped the most.
Yeah.
As long as I wasn't alone, I wasn't stuck in my thoughts. I watched Gilmore Girls through all of maternity leave, and that was like my comfort show. I'd never seen it before. So
Is it still a comfort show to you?
I have not watched it again because I'm scared that I'll feel anxious. Like I'm scared
Okay.
that it'll remind me of that, and
Of
I don't
that,
want to
yeah.
feel it. But I remember, you know, watching that a lot and just finding comfort in being at home and being with her and enjoying that time. And I remember thinking, you know, at my appointment, I'm going to bring it up and I'm just going to let him know, like, I've taken Celexa. I took Celexa in nursing school for anxiety. And I was like, I'm just going to bring it up to him. And I brought it up to him and he was like, yeah, I'll just give you a low dose of Celexa. It's no big deal, Dr. Spencer. And by the time I picked it up like a day later, I felt better. It's so weird. It like just lifted.
It just lifted. And maybe it was just telling him, and maybe you just needed that reassurance, like, hey, you can take it again.
Yeah.
Just that verification, like validation that it was okay and it was typical.
Mm-hmm. I think once that fog lifted, it was just everything was great.
Smooth sailing from there.
So weird.
So you said friends helped you a lot too, and your mom, but did they ever say, like, I experienced the same thing? Like, did anybody relate or say that they had it also, like your mom didn't go through it?
My mom had never had any postpartum depression or anxiety, which doesn't surprise me. She's super mom. You would think that even super moms can struggle like that too, but no, she never did. I really didn't have anybody to relate
Okay.
to. As a matter of fact, I think my two best friends at that time, neither one of them were moms yet. So just them being there really helped. And I was aware, like, this is related to hormones and this is going to get better. And I was able to, you know, reconcile that with myself.
With time.
It's so crazy to think that there are people that have several kids or one kid or whatever and never go through, because the hormone shift is big for everybody that has a kid. But it's you know, crazy to think that there's people that don't even experience it.
I'm surprised my mom didn't.
I feel like it wasn't talked about. Yeah, I feel like now it's getting bigger, you know, over the last 5 years or so, it's getting bigger, it's more talked about. But I just don't feel like it, you know, back in the day, 10 years ago, whatever, it was talked about very much.
No, even
or like you
Kaden.
didn't just say like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm anxious or I'm depressed, I had a baby and now I'm depressed. Like, I feel like that was a lot to admit or even get out there.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I don't think, and maybe my mom had symptoms like that and they just didn't. There wasn't
how to
nobody was
present it,
talking about it. Even with Caden though, so he'll be 15 this month or next month. They just called it baby blues. You might experience a little baby blues and moved on.
And that was it.
And that was it.
Which is crazy because it's so much more than that.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, in the last several years, not anywhere where I hope to see it in the next several years, but mental health is becoming more
It is.
at the forefront, and I think it is making a big change. I hope it continues to do that because it is super important.
I agree.
What would you tell somebody who's going through IVF right now?
You are not immune to any issues postpartum. And it is okay if you experience that. It's okay if you're looking at your baby like, I can't believe I did this. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel that way. Somebody is going to understand. Talk to your doctor, talk to your friends, reach out to the McLain Mindset. So whenever you have a baby, but if they're in the middle of their IVF journey, you know, it's so hard to know what to say to people. People have said all kinds of things to me, and nothing really helps, honestly. It as long as somebody just says, you know, I'm sitting with you in it, you know, whatever you need.
Actively listening or just being there. You know, you can have.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody that I knew that were related at all, and found an online community that became, I still have a couple of them that are my best friends.
That's awesome.
Because you need the support. You have to have the support.
Yes.
And talk about it, because like you said, it's going to help somebody, or there's somebody out there who's probably not outspoken or even speaking about issues that they've had, IVF or whatever, and somebody will reach out, or it'll reach somebody.
Yeah.
Either way.
But online platforms are good. You're right. I mean, 16 years ago though with Annie, I didn't even feel like, I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Like I kept that to myself. Like I just was like, I mean, I had baby blues, and my mom and Jordan knew that, but like I didn't tell them like, I don't know if I love her. Like I don't know. But it just wasn't an option to either. And so it was like, and my mom would always like really worry if my sister and I like weren't happy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to be happy now. Like it all has to be great.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, well, it's okay for it not to be great.
Yeah.
As you know, you get older and stuff like that. So, so even IVF, they don't always prepare you for like, their focus is just to get you pregnant and then to hand you off.
Exactly. Hand you off. Yep. The biggest thing is just getting you pregnant. And I'll never forget my very first appointment with Dr. Spencer.
Spence.
I know.
It's so crazy.
I miss him so much. But my very first appointment, you know, I'm in tears, I'm bawling because we had already been trying for so long, and I knew something wasn't right because my periods were all messed up. And he looked at me and he looked at Jason. He said, "Don't worry, I'm going to get your wife pregnant." I was like, I died.
Like, wait, what?
But he did. He got me pregnant, and
He did.
not with his child, but with another.
But with another.
And but yeah, that's their goal: getting you pregnant,
And then hand you off.
Yeah.
Helping you
So
out.
did that probably was something that was probably weird too. Like you had a lot of relationships built with them over 3 years. Kind of like whenever you do get that relationship with your OB and it's like, wait, what? I don't see you again until I get pregnant again. But
I know.
we've been together at least once a month for the past 9 months,
I'm
if
coming
not
back,
more. So
whether
like,
you like it or not.
what are we doing here? You're just done?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we are. Little do you know, we have a check off of when we don't have to see you anymore.
Yeah.
Not you, your hormones.
It's so
But
true.
I bet that was probably emotional too, like
It was
free and clear.
Mm-hmm. And I found out he was sick shortly after, so that was tough too.
Yeah.
But,
Shortly after he delivered Addison,
Mhm.
or okay,
yeah, shortly after Addison. So yeah, it was a journey, that's for sure. And it's just, oh man, I wish I could. And I think it's just so important for everybody to know, if you have a friend who recently had a baby, social media, I mean, they're posting pictures of their cute little thing and they're so happy, but just check on them.
just check on
And just say, you don't have to be okay. Like, if you're not okay, you can just tell me you're not okay.
yes,
And then just show up.
just show up. That's what I was gonna say. Just show up. It's
Even if it's awkward, even if it's
Yes.
weird, take them a sandwich and just show up.
just show up.
Hold their baby while they take a shower.
Do their dishes,
Mhm.
vacuum. Like let them be like, no, don't. But just
Do it
do
anyway.
it. Just do it. Because every time we're all like, tell me what you need. No one is going to say what they need.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you need
You
half
don't
the
know.
time. You
Yeah.
don't know what you need, so you just gotta just do it.
Especially when you're right after having a baby, you're so numb and exhausted. you're exhausted, so you're numb to everything.
Mhm.
So you're like, no, I'm good. I don't need anything. But somebody comes and holds that baby for a good 30 minutes and you just get a 10-minute nap. It's like you're a new person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember with Bree when she had Augie and I went and stayed the night and she was like, no, I'm good. And I was like, I know, but I am. And it was hard. It was hard for her and Colby. Like, I finally had to be like, okay, well, if y'all aren't going to go to bed, like, I'm going to go
We
home.
were like really anxious. Like, we were probably up to like 11:30. We didn't want to go to bed. I was
Yeah.
like, are you sure? Like, I can do whatever. And she was like, no, go to sleep. So finally we went to sleep. And once we went to sleep, it was like the best night of sleep.
And she just felt so much rejuvenated after that.
Yes.
Like, you don't even realize what you need and you fight what you need, just like a toddler at nap time. And then you're like, damn, I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like I didn't want her to feel obligated or her to be put out that she was coming to stay the night with me. But if she didn't want to, she wouldn't have been
She
there.
wouldn't have been there.
And same for anyone listening. Like, your friends won't just show up because they don't want to.
Yeah.
They genuinely want to do it, so you can't rob them of their blessings. Let them do it.
And if you are in a situation where somebody's asking, you know, what can I do? Maybe can you just come over?
Yes.
Can you just hold the baby while I take a shower? You know,
see it as
just
that resource God just
yeah.
sent you, and they're
Yeah.
being obedient to check on you and just be vulnerable and say it. You're
Right.
right.
It's like me and God. He keeps sending me a lifeboat. And I'm like, get the next one.
Honey, you stay. I'm telling
I'm waiting
you.
on the yacht.
You're
Don't do
holding
that.
on like Jack and the Titanic.
I am. That 2x4 is strong.
Let it go.
I'm like, is this from Noah's Ark? This thing is strong.
There's something about you that reminds me of Noah's Ark, but
Okay.
I don't think it's the wood.
It's being built.
I wasn't going to say that, but
But that is true. I mean, even just a nap, a shower, a good sandwich, like just, or like to just sit there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
And
what
like,
I needed more than
me
anything.
too. I
Yeah,
just
Just
wanted
somebody
company.
to be there.
And it was so weird after, like, I swear I had company for like the first 3 months. And then when everybody stops coming, because they're like, okay, you're able to get out of the house and you can go do things. And
Mhm.
my husband went back to work, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, it really is just me and you.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
Yeah.
it's us.
But
Yeah.
it was all a blur. Now, like you said,
It
and looking
is.
back now, you're like, man, I'm so grateful, and that was nothing, a drop in the bucket.
That's why people always keep having kids, because it's a blur, so you don't remember
Yeah.
being up.
God
and then,
has a way of making you forget.
and
and
then
it's
you have when you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is what no sleep feels like again. Like, you
Yeah.
one eye crusted
Yeah.
shut all the time.
Yeah. He just has a way of making you forget all the hard stuff and only the most precious stuff. And
He's
you
good
just-
like that.
Yeah. And you just do it again. You're like, oh,
Do it 4
Yeah.
times. We're waiting on a 5th.
hard pass.
We are not waiting on a fifth,
Oh.
stupid.
I am for you.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Of course.
We had a lot of
Thank you,
fun, and I think that
guys.
you helped a lot.
And that's a heavy convo, but it's just so normal.
It is. It's too much of an isolating combo.
Mhm.
So hopefully this helps people either speak or help somebody else in it.